about buying a new sewing machine. Like a lot of people, when I first started sewing, I was sewing with a family machine that I inherited from my older sister. It was an old Burnett, a really wonderful workhorse. I spent a lot of time nurturing and loving that machine, and then one day a critical piece just broke off and I couldn't use it anymore. So I had to buy a new machine. And I found that there were not a lot of tips out there for how to purchase a machine, what to look for. So I've put together these 3 really basic questions to ask yourself before you go into that machine buying process. The first question is, what kind of sewing do you do? It's really basic, but when you think about it, are you a hobbyist? Are you mostly sewing a little bit of everything? You're doing some garments here, some housewares there, a little bit of quilting. Maybe you don't really know what you like to sew yet. Then you're a hobbyist, technically. Maybe you love quilting, and that's absolutely all that you want to be doing. You don't want to mess with garment sewing. You don't really want to be doing anything else. Then it means that you're a quilter and you're interested in a quilting machine. And then you might also be really interested in machine embroidery. A lot of people purchase really nice new machines for the fun stitches on them and for the fun little sort of designs that they can make. So you need to just assess what is the main kind of sewing you're going to do. And if you're not predominantly a quilter or into machine embroidery, I would recommend going with a general hobby machine, which generally means that it has a bunch of basic features, and then depending on price point, sort of escalates with extras on top. Some of those basic features are having multiple different stitches. So, having sort of your basic straight stitch, your zigzag stitch, and then on my machine here, there are a couple of decorative stitches as well and buttonhole stitches. It will come with a digital display for stitch length and stitch width. Also a speed regulator, which is really good if you want to slow down or go really fast with your sewing. And then sort of all the other kind of basics to look for. Something else in a basic hobby machine to look for are some sort of extras, some add-ons that come with the machine. So my machine came with a bunch of different feet. Besides this regular presser foot that you see right here on the machine, you can swap it out for a buttonhole presser foot or a walking foot here, which I find really handy for all kinds of projects. So, these are some good extra features to look for in a hobbyist machine. The next question to ask if you are looking for a new machine is, how much help are you going to need using a new machine? Are you an expert sewer and you have used a bunch of machines in the past and you don't think that you're going to need a lot of help? Or are you a new sewer or relatively new, or you're planning on getting a very complicated new machine and you need a little bit of instruction? The reason why this is an important question to ask is because it's going to determine whether you purchase your machine online or in a store. There are benefits to both. I purchased my machine online because of the cost. It's a huge cost savings to purchase it online. And as you might imagine, you can purchase just about any machine online and often can get a price cut on that. But there are a lot of benefits to buying a machine in a store too. I would highly recommend buying your machine in a store if you think that for any reason you're going to want a little bit of help with your machine, some instruction on how to use new stitches, or just how to use sort of the bells and whistles that are on it. Often stores will just add that on to it's part of the purchase. Another thing is that it provides you with a warranty. So you can bring your machine in for a cleaning, or you can bring it in if something's feeling funky, if your bobbin is not winding quite right. You can just bring it in and they'll usually take a look at it for a certain period of time within when you've purchased the machine. So there are perks to buying in the store. Even though sometimes it's a little bit more expensive, you do get that human touch. The third question to ask yourself is how much money do I want to spend? And of course, this is a very personal question, and only you can really answer the question. But it's probably something that you have thought about, and if you have very little money to spend, I would recommend going with a general hobbyist machine. Just try to buy the best hobbyist machine that you can afford. And the reason why is because most of these machines that are general hobbyist machines tend to also be the most cost efficient. But if you have a little bit more money to spend, you have a little bit more flexibility, and you can look at some of the machines with bells and whistles. If you're a quilter, you'll want to get a machine with a really big throat right here to fit all of your quilt inside. If you're an embroiderer, I mean, there are amazing embroidery things that machines can do, and you can go look at things with crazy features and spend up to tens of thousands of dollars on machines. But another thing to consider when it comes down to price is whether you want to buy your machine new or if you want to buy it used. Because like I had at the beginning, a lot of old machines are amazing workhorses and still work perfectly. You know, they maybe don't have the digital readout, or they maybe don't have the speed regulator, or 59 stitches, but it doesn't really matter because it sews a straight stitch, it sews a zigzag, you have a zipper foot, really basic stuff that you need to just get going and get sewing. So you can save a little bit of money by buying an older machine, but I would recommend being careful and to just look at the reviews online of old machines and new ones. And if you're considering buying an older machine, to make sure that there are still parts available for fixing it. Because if something does break, like it did on my old machine, if there isn't actually a part to fix it, often it's going to be very, very, very expensive to get it back in operating order. So with those three basic questions, you should be ready to go out and think through what machine you want to buy. Good luck.